So, good morning, class. Today we will discuss deviation from ideal behavior for gases and the critical phenomena. So, this topic has been taken from your unit second, which is on the gases, gaseous state. So, these two topics are taken from there, and we will discuss them today. First of all, we will see deviation from the ideal behavior. What is ideal behavior? First of all, the question arises: what is ideal behavior? So, as we know that the gases in the gaseous state, their molecules are far apart from each other. They do not have any intermolecular forces of attraction, and this is the ideal behavior, right? So, all the ideal gases they follow ideal gas equation, and this is the simplest way to tell what is ideal behavior of a gas. A gas which follows ideal gas equation is the ideal gas, and which does not follow ideal gas equation is the real gas. So, how will you define that behavior? So, what is the ideal gas equation? PV is equal to nRT. This is the ideal gas equation, right? So, if you transfer this component on this side of the equation, this will be equal to PV upon RT, and if n is equal to 1, like you are taking for 1 mole of the gas, so this PV is equal to nRT, PV is equal to RT should be equal to 1. So for one mole of a gas, this n will be 1, so PV will be equal to nRT, and then in that case if you plot a graph between PV upon RT with respect to P, so when you plot such graph for 1 mole of a ideal gas, which gas? Ideal gas. I'm talking about the ideal gas only. So what happens? You will get a straight line. So this graph shows the behavior of an ideal gas. 1 mole of the ideal gas, the relationship PV upon RT is a constant at all the pressure value. So no matter how much you increase the pressure, this will be a constant. So you call it ideal gas. But we are here to discuss the deviation. So how the other gases which deviate from this behavior. So it is said that the ideal gas exists only in the theory, and in reality we do not have any such gas. Ideal gas is nothing, it is only in the theory. All the gases which exist, they are called as real gas, and it has been seen that they do not show such behavior, they do not follow the ideal gas behavior, rather they show deviation from the ideal behavior. So this graph was actually plotted for the ideal gas. Now let us see what is the deviation from ideal behavior, how the gases deviate from their ideal behavior. So this is the actual graph. For real gases, when you plot such graph, when you plot the PV upon RT with respect to pressure, and when you increase the pressure, different gases, they show different type of behavior. And none of them show a straight line. Like in case of the ideal gas, we were getting a straight line, but none of the real gas, they show a straight line. So all the real gases, they deviate from the ideal behavior. So what conclusion we can draw here from the graph, and what conclusion can be drawn in relation to the deviation with respect to pressure and temperature? What are the conclusions that can be taken for the real gases? So it can be said that the real gases at all the temperature and all the pressure, they do not follow the ideal gas equation. Rather, a gas behaves like an ideal gas when we have a low pressure. So pressure should be low. In that case, the behavior of the gas will be nearby to the ideal gas, right? Like if you can see here in the graph, when the pressure value is low, this curve is actually near to the straight line. But when you increase the pressure, the deviation become really high. So at the low pressure values, you can say that the real gas behaves like an ideal gas. And what about the temperature? So the gas behaves most like an ideal gas at a high temperature, when the temperature is high. Like you can see when it is 1000 Kelvin, when the temperature was 1000 Kelvin, the behavior was quite like an ideal gas. At 1000 Kelvin, you can see it is so much near to the straight line at low pressures and high temperature. But when the temperature is low, like in case of the 200 Kelvin, when the temperature is quite low, what happens? A large deviation from the ideal gas behavior is seen. What is ideal gas behavior? This straight line is the ideal gas behavior, right? So any curve which is near to, which is similar to the straight line, it is showing the ideal behavior of the gas. So that ideal behavior can be seen when the pressure value is low and temperature is high. So these are the two conclusions that we can draw here. And a real gas follows the ideal gas behavior. It follows the ideal gas equation when the temperature is low and when the pressure is low and temperature is high. So this shows that the real gas, they actually show deviation from the ideal gas behavior, and there is a restriction regarding that. You have to maintain the pressure in the low values and temperature in the high value. So why it is happening? Why it is so that only a particular range of temperature and pressure, our real gas is behaving like ideal gas, and outside that range of temperature and pressure, now the real gases are showing deviations. So what could be the possible reason? So in the kinetic theory of gases, two wrong assumptions were made, and these assumptions about the ideal gas, the volume of the gas particle is negligible. This assumption was actually made for the ideal gas in the kinetic theory of gases. The gas particle, the individual particles present inside the gas, their volume is negligible as compared to the volume of the gas. But this assumption does not hold true for the real gases. Generally, it is not required that all the gas particles they have a negligible volume for all the gases. So this assumption proved wrong in the kinetic theory of gas, and this is the first possible reason for a deviation of gases from ideal behavior, because generally their gas particles they have you cannot neglect their volume, right? The second possible reason for the deviation from ideal behavior is another assumption which was made in the kinetic theory of gas, and the assumption was there are no attractive forces between the particles. No attractive forces are there between the gas particles. So again, this assumption was wrong, which was made in the kinetic theory, and this assumption was made for the ideal gas, the ideal gas particles, they do not have any attractive forces. But in reality, in all the real gases, you cannot ignore such forces also. So again, this is another reason for the deviation of real gases from ideal behavior. So if you are asked what are the two reasons for the deviation of real gases from ideal behavior, so the reason is these two assumptions. First is the volume of the gas particle is not negligible as compared to the volume of gas. And the second thing is you cannot ignore the intermolecular forces between the gas particles. So due to these two reasons, when you plot a graph between the PV upon nRT with respect to pressure, we can see that none of the real gas is showing a straight line just like the ideal gas. So this is the deviation of the real gases from ideal behavior. So let us see different assumptions one by one. So the first assumption which was proved wrong here was the volume of gas particle is negligible. This was the assumption in the kinetic gas theory for the ideal gases, but this does not hold true for the real gases. So here the assumption was the wrong assumption was about the volume of the gas. So at low pressure, what happens? At low pressure, suppose 1 into 10 raised to power 5 Pascal, that is the STP. This is the pressure of atmosphere. At that pressure, the volume occupied by the particles of a typical gas is only 0.05% of the total volume. So that is negligible, and therefore we can say that yes, at the low pressure, what happens? The the real gas is showing the ideal behavior that we have just seen in the graph in the previous slide, that when you are putting the pressure low, when you're keeping the pressure low, in that case the real gas is just like the ideal gas. So what is the reason behind that? At very low pressure, when the pressure is really low, the volume occupied by the particles of the typical gas, it is very small, and in that case you can neglect it, right? But what happens when you're increasing the pressure? So suppose you have increased the pressure to a value 5 times to the atmospheric pressure, that is 5 into 10 raised to power 5 Pascal. So when you have increased the pressure at high pressure, what happens? Now because you are increasing the pressure, you are forcing the gas molecule to come closer. You are forcing them to come closer and to occupy a lesser volume. So now what happens? Because the volume of the gas is decreasing, now, the volume occupied by the individual particles, it becomes how much? 20% of the total volume. And now you cannot neglect it, right? Now the volume of the particle is significantly large as compared to the overall volume of the gas when you are increasing the pressure. So now at high pressure, now what happens? The volume of individual particle, it becomes significant. And now the real gas starts showing deviation from the ideal behavior. So the volume of a real gas at high pressure is larger than that predicted by the ideal gas law, and therefore what happens at the high pressure, PV upon nRT is not equal to 0. Rather, it is less than 1. Sorry, greater than 1. So when you are increasing the pressure, PV upon nRT becomes greater than 1. It is not equal to 1, rather it is greater than 1. So this is the assumption about the volume of the gas particle. Then next see the second assumption which proved wrong for the real gas. This was there are no attractive forces between the particles. It was said in the kinetic theory that gas particles, they don't have any attractive forces. So this assumption also proved wrong. At the low pressure, again we are taking the atmospheric pressure value. So at the low pressure, the particles are so widely spaced apart. At low pressure, the molecules are far apart because the volume is more. Like we can say that the pressure is actually proportional to volume. So when the pressure is proportional to volume, you are increasing the pressure. At the low pressure, your volume will be great, and at high volume, what happens? At high volume, you have low pressure, and now the molecules are so close to each other. And in that case, what happens? Now the forces between the molecules, they are quite significant. So in that case, now what happens? This assumption is valid when you have low pressure. But what happens when you are increasing the pressure? Like we have seen that at the high pressure, the real gases, they show deviation from the ideal behavior. So when you increase the pressure, and again like if I increase the pressure up to 3 times to the atmospheric pressure, so at such high pressure, the particles are so much close, and therefore what happens? The interactive forces, they are more. So this will cause a reduction of the pressure of the gas. So when you are increasing the pressure, now molecules are close and they develop the attractive forces, and now you cannot say that there are no forces between the particles, and this assumption now proved wrong. So when the pressure of the real gas is high, when at the high pressure it is present, now what happens? Uh, the high pressure is smaller than that predicted by the ideal gas law, and PV upon nRT becomes less than 1. So when the molecules, they develop forces, now the overall pressure that is exerted by the gas becomes quite less. And that is how the PV upon nRT becomes less than 1. The next assumption, which was about the temperature. Now let us see what is the effect of temperature on the real gas behavior. So at the low temperature, when the temperature is low, what happens? The kinetic energy of the particle, it is also low. And when the kinetic energy of the particle is low, you can see that they are moving less. Kinetic energy is about the movement of the particle. So when the kinetic energy is low, the temperature is low, in that case particles are moving less. or you can say that they are bound by the interparticle forces. Therefore, the pressure of a real gas, when you are applying the low temperature, the pressure also becomes low, as predicted by the ideal gas law, and in that case, PV upon nRT becomes lesser than 1. So, from all the discussion, what the conclusion we can draw here, real gases, they deviate from the ideal behavior when either or both assumptions are not valid. So we have seen three assumptions about the volume, pressure, and temperature, and these are the three key quantities which actually decide the behavior of a real gas. So the assumptions are, which are proved wrong here. The volume of the gas particle is negligible, so it is not negligible. When you have increased the pressure and when you decrease the temperature, the volume of the gas particle becomes significant. Similarly, second assumption was there are no attractive forces between the particles. So again, when you are increasing the pressure, molecules are coming closer and they develop the forces between them. And when you are uh, decreasing the temperature is decreased, so the kinetic energy becomes low, and again now molecules are coming close and developing the forces. So overall, it can be said that at low temperature and high pressure, real gas deviates a lot from the ideal gas behavior, but it shows the ideal gas behavior when your temperature is high and pressure is low. So this is the condition for a real gas to behave like the ideal gas. You should keep the temperature high and pressure low. So now let us see the comparison between the ideal gas and the real gas. So ideal gas, it obeys the gas law. PV is equal to nRT under all the conditions of temperature and pressure. So this condition of temperature and pressure is not applicable to the ideal gas. But yes, this condition is applicable to the real gas. So it obeys the gas law. PV is equal to nRT only at the high temperature and low pressure. So ideal gas obeys the gas law at all the temperature and pressure, but real gas obeys at only high temperature and low pressure. Now, the ideal gas, this is a theoretical concept. It is hypothetical and it does not exist. Like the nitrogen, helium, and hydrogen, which do not liquefy easily, they come nearest to behaving like ideal gases. These three gases, nitrogen, helium, and hydrogen, their behavior is quite like ideal gas because it is really difficult to liquefy them. When does a gas liquefy? When it develops the intermolecular forces. So these gases actually it is really difficult to develop the intermolecular forces between these gas particles. So they are really difficult to liquefy. The nitrogen, helium, and hydrogen, and therefore we consider them consider their behavior so near to the ideal gas. But generally, at all the temperature and pressure, you can say that all the gases, they are real. Now, in the case of ideal gas, the volume occupied by the gas molecules or gas atoms, it is negligible as compared to the volume of the container. So this was also an assumption in the kinetic theory. But in case of the real gas, what happens? The volume occupied by the molecule is not negligible as compared to the total volume of gas. You cannot actually ignore the volume of the gas. The last point of comparison, there is no or negligible amount of intermolecular force of attraction between the molecules. But in the case of real gas, yes, a little bit of forces they exist between the molecules of the gas. Now, if the real gases are not following the ideal gas equation, then what is the equation they follow? What equation they are following? So, the real gases, they follow the van der Waals equation, which is also called as van der Waals equation of state. So this van der Waals equation of state, it is followed by the real gases, and here corrections have been made. Corrections have been done in the ideal gas equation regarding the two wrong assumptions which were made in the kinetic theory of gas. So what are these two corrections? First correction was made for the molecular attraction. So it is shown like this. n square a upon v square. So this v square is correction for the molecular attraction, and this b is what? Correction for the volume of molecules. So earlier the ideal gas equation was PV is equal to nRT. So in the case of molecular attraction, the correction has been made in the case of pressure, because now the pressure of the gas will be higher as calculated by the ideal gas, because molecules are attracted by the forces. So and in case of the volume of the molecules, the correction has been made here in the terms of NB, because the actual volume becomes lesser. So after applying the two corrections regarding the two wrongly made assumptions, now what the equation that we derive from ideal gas equation, this is called van der Waals equation of state, and this is applicable to all the real gases, and the two constants which have been introduced here, A and B, they are called the van der Waals constant. So in this equation, all the terms they have their usual meaning. Like the P represent pressure of the fluid, V represent total volume of the container, A is the measure of the attraction between the particles, V is the volume occupied by a mole of particles, N is the number of moles, R is the universal gas constant, and T is the absolute temperature. So all these terms they have their usual meaning. Now the van der Waals constant A and B, their value is different for different gases. Like in this table, you can see we have so many gases listed here: helium, hydrogen, oxygen, water, methane, and for all the gases. In this case, water is not liquid, right? It is a gas. So we are considering the water vapors here. So water vapors we are considering here. So the constant A and constant B, the two van der Waals constant, they have different values for these different gases. So, as a general observation, you can say that when the molecular weight, molecular mass of the gas molecule is increasing, it also increases the value of these two van der Waals constant. The value of A is increasing in this direction, and the value of B is also increasing in this direction. So, this is a general observation. Increase with an increase in the mass of the molecule, and with an increase in the complexity of the gas molecule. So these two constants they have different values. Now let us see another important phenomena regarding the gases, that is the critical phenomena. So critical phenomena of the gas, it is actually related to the liquefaction of gases. When you are converting a gas into a liquid, so can you imagine what is the difference between a liquid and a gas? So here you can see two circles. In this circle, you can see the gaseous state of the substance, and in this circle, you can see the liquid state. So what is the key difference that is observable here? In the gases, when the temperature is high, the temperature mentioned here is 117 degrees Celsius. Like in this case also, here we are showing a gas filled inside the container. So when the temperature is high, these molecules of gas they are moving away from each other and wandering inside the container here and there, because they don't have any forces of attraction between them. Or you can say these forces of attraction are so weak that they cannot hold the molecules together. So these molecules they are free to move. They are freely moving inside the container, and in whatever container you fill them, container of whatever volume you fill them, they will occupy the whole volume. They will occupy the entire volume, and consequently the pressure will decrease. So the gas molecules they are free to move. But in case of the liquid, if you can see, these molecules of gas now they are so close to each other. They have come close. Like when you are decreasing the temperature, what happens when you have decreased the temperature from 117 degrees Celsius to 85 degrees Celsius? What is the change that is seen here? So now molecules have lost their kinetic energy, or you can say the kinetic energy is really low at low temperature. So now the molecules of gas they are not so free to move, because their kinetic energy has decreased, and because now they cannot move so easily. What happens now? They are coming close to each other, and when they start coming close, now they slowly develop intermolecular forces, And now what happens as they start developing these intermolecular forces, they are held together, and soon they are converted into liquid. So this is the you can say the theoretical idea of converting a gas into liquid. So if you decrease the temperature, in that case the molecule will come closer, and they will develop the forces of attraction, and soon they will be converted into a liquid. This is the basic difference between a liquid and the gaseous state. But is it really possible that you simply liquefy a gas by decreasing the temperature? Is it really possible? So, the essential condition for the liquefaction of the gas is what? The essential condition is the critical temperature, critical pressure, and critical volume. These are the three essential characters, essential factors for the liquefaction of gases. So when you are studying about the liquefaction, you have to go through all these phenomena. So they are related to the critical phenomena of the gas. So when you are decreasing the volume of the gas, how you can do that? Like you can see a huge difference in the volume of the gas here and the volume of the liquid. How you have to decrease this volume? How we can brought about it? So first thing is you can lower the temperature, like I told you, lower the temperature or increase the pressure, or by both. So when you lower the temperature, the kinetic energy decreases, and when you increase the pressure, you are actually forcing the molecules to come closer. So in this case, you can see there are two possibilities in which you can convert a gas into liquid. That is to reduce the volume of the gas into a liquid. So you can lower the temperature or increase the temperature, lower the temperature, increase the pressure, or both can be done in a certain combination. Like you can see here the low pressure and high pressure value. So when you are increasing the pressure, the molecules are coming closer. So now see, liquefaction of the gas is only possible when it has attained a certain temperature, certain pressure, and this is the critical phenomenon. So it is not that if you lower down the temperature of a gas, it will be liquid. You cannot do that alone with the help of the temperature. Then again, if you increase the pressure, if you are putting high pressure on the gas, again it is not possible that simply the gas is at the high temperature, but you are continuously increasing the pressure in order to liquefy that. So you have to go for a combination of these two factors, the low temperature and high pressure. So the minimum temperature and the maximum pressure which can be applied to a gas in order to liquefy it, they are called the critical values. So let us see them one by one. First is the critical temperature. So what is the critical temperature? It is defined as the characteristic temperature of a gas above which no liquefaction occurs, although the pressure may be increased many folds. So the critical temperature is the minimum temperature at which the gas has to stay in order to liquefy. Otherwise, alone by increasing the pressure, you cannot do that. You cannot liquefy a gas by simply increasing the pressure over it. You have to also lower down the temperature, and the minimum temperature which is required for the liquefaction is the critical temperature. So example is given here, that is the Tc of carbon dioxide is 31.1 degrees Celsius. So you can understand this value, like the critical temperature of carbon dioxide is 31.1 degrees Celsius, and if you increase the temperature beyond that value, suppose if the temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, in that case it is not possible to liquefy carbon dioxide. By whatever high amount you are applying the pressure, you cannot liquefy it. So the minimum temperature should be 31.1 degrees Celsius or below that. Then only the carbon dioxide can be liquefied. Then related to this concept, we have critical pressure. So what is critical pressure? Again, this is the minimum pressure required to liquefy 1 mole of a gas present at its critical temperature. So when the gas is at the critical temperature, now you have to increase the pressure over it. So what is the minimum pressure that you have to put on the gas? That will be the critical pressure. So it is the minimum pressure required to liquefy 1 mole of a gas present at critical temperature. So the critical pressure of carbon dioxide is 73 atmosphere. So minimum temperature would be 31.1 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, when you apply a minimum of 73 atmospheric pressure or higher than that, in that case you can liquefy the carbon dioxide. And when the carbon dioxide, 1 mole of carbon dioxide is present at the critical temperature and pressure, so the volume occupied in that case will be the critical volume. So what is the critical volume? The volume occupied by 1 mole of a gas at critical pressure and critical temperature. So the critical volume of carbon dioxide is 95 centimeter cube. Now a gas is said to be at its critical state when its pressure, volume and temperature are Pc, Vc and Tc. So when the three factors they are at their critical value, when you have attained the critical temperature, critical pressure and critical volume of a gas, now the gas is said to be at the critical state. At the critical state, the physical properties of the liquid and gaseous forms of the substance they become identical and no distinction can be observed between the two. So now what is the critical state? Other way to define it. At the critical state of a substance, the physical properties of liquid and gases they are now similar. They become identical, and now you cannot identify them by their physical property. So the gas is behaving like a liquid, and liquid is behaving like a gas. So that is how it is called a critical phenomena. It becomes critical to judge whether the substance is present in gaseous state or in the liquid state. Now the smooth merging between a gas and its liquid state at the critical state and the related phenomena, this is called a critical phenomena. So the phenomena of being a gas in its critical state, this is called as critical phenomena. Now we have Andrews experiment. Andrew was a scientist and he performed so many experiments on carbon dioxide gas, and the graphs obtained they were called the isotherms. So in the Andrews experiment, let us see what are the isotherms of a real gas. So importance of the critical temperature of a gas, it was first discovered by Thomas Andrews in his experiments on pressure volume isotherm of carbon dioxide gas at a series of temperature. So when you fix the temperature and you plot a graph between pressure and volume, this is called a isotherm. So at a certain particular temperature, you have maintained the constant temperature. So at a particular constant temperature, the graph obtained, the line or curve obtained, this is called isotherm. So many isotherm you can see here. This is the graph between pressure and volume. And these different curves, they are actually representing different isotherms at a particular temperature. Like this one is at the 48 degrees Celsius. This one is at 35.5 degrees Celsius. This is 31 degrees Celsius, 21 and 30. So now you can say that these are the isotherms because in the entire range of the experiment, temperature was put constant. Now what happens when you start decreasing the volume by increasing the pressure? There is a certain region which is called condensation region, and this has been seen in so many temperatures. In so many isotherms, this region is present and it is shown here in the color green. So this is the condensation region which is actually representing the condensation of carbon dioxide molecules and their liquefaction. So the Andrew isotherm, they basically give us the idea about the liquefaction of the gas. So like you can see that when you are decreasing the pressure constantly, what happens? The volume is when you are decreasing the volume, sorry. So in that case, the pressure keep on increasing, and at a particular point, when your critical values are reached, in that case, the liquefaction is possible. So this entire region is actually showing the the behavior of the carbon dioxide, that it has attained its critical state. So what is the critical state of carbon dioxide? Like we have seen, 31.1 degrees Celsius is the critical temperature. You can see this temperature here. Below this temperature, yes, liquefaction of the carbon dioxide is possible. But above 31 degrees Celsius, like you can see, this is the critical temperature, this is the critical point. So above this temperature, it is not possible to liquefy carbon dioxide at all. By no matter how much you increase the pressure, you cannot liquefy it. And at this point, also the value of pressure. Well, value of pressure would be, what was the critical pressure of carbon dioxide? 73 atmosphere. So this is somewhere around the 73 atmosphere in the graph. So when the pressure is 73 atmosphere, you can actually liquefy the carbon dioxide, and below that pressure value, it is also possible. But above this pressure, you cannot liquefy the carbon dioxide gas. So NREO isotherm, they basically represent the critical phenomena, and especially because the observations were made in the case of the carbon dioxide. So this concept of critical phenomena, it actually represents the continuity of states. So what do we mean by the continuity of state? A gas can be liquefied by sufficient compression at or below its critical temperature. At the critical temperature or below the critical temperature, you can apply the pressure and liquefy the gas. So according to the principle of continuity of state, the liquid state does not represent a sharp discontinuous transition from the gaseous state, but is the rather continuation of the gaseous phase into the region of very strong intermolecular attraction and small volumes. So it is not that a certain that suddenly your gas has become liquid. These two states are actually continuous, and this concept is the continuity of the state. You cannot say that abruptly suddenly the gas has appeared and a certain temperature and pressure the liquid has appeared. These two states, they are actually interrelated, and that continuity is actually represented by a region of very strong intermolecular attractions. So this is the continuity of the two states. They are continuously attached to each other. They are converting from one form to the other, not abruptly, rather in a continuous manner. So when this transition from gas to liquid this occurs, there has been never been more than one phase present at any time. At any time, you can say that either the gas is in the gaseous state or in the liquid state. So even when they are continuous in nature, you cannot say that the two phases they are present at the same time. Right? It is not possible. Then the second important point is change from gas to liquid. This must have occurred at pressure on the critical isotherm. So if the pressure is not that, then what will happen? The transition between the phases, it will not be continuous. So in order to make this transition from liquid to gas or gas to liquid, it is very much required to maintain the critical isotherm, or you can say to maintain the critical temperature, critical pressure. And only in that case it is possible to maintain a continuity between these two states. So this is the principle of continuity of the state, which is related to the liquefaction of gas and the critical phenomena. Now the relationship can be derived between the different critical constant, and this is very important derivation. So this is the van der Waal equation of state, like we have discussed. And if you break down, if you open the brackets here, if you open the bracket, the equation will take this form. And when you multiply the equation by v square upon p and rearrange it, this is the equation that is obtained at the end. This is a cubic equation, if you can see, and the cubic equation for the given value of P and T, there will be three values of V, right? Because this is the cubic equation. So what happens? The theoretical isotherm plotted using the above equation, they are similar to the experimental isotherm by Andrews. So this actually establishes the credibility of this equation and the Andrews isotherm. However, when the below the critical isotherm, what happens? Wave-like portion appear in place of the horizontal portions. So for each value of P and P, we will have three values of V, right? So you can see that this is actually what wave-like form. But in the case of Andrew isotherm, these were straight lines, but these are actually wave-like structures. So these wave-like structures are what they are representing. For one value of pressure and temperature, we have one, two, three. Three values of volume are possible. Again, in this case, 1, 2, 3. These are the three values of volume which are present at a same temperature. Same pressure. So this can be actually proved by the van der Waals equation of state. So the value of V becomes closer as the temperature increases. The distinction between these three values, three volumes, it becomes less and less when you increase the pressure, increase the temperature, and at the critical point, at the critical isotherm, all the three values of volume they merge together, and we have only one value of V. So at the critical point here, we have only one value of a volume possible. So from this observation, now we can obtain the values of different critical constant. So at the critical phenomena, at the critical isotherm, we have volume is equal to Vc and V minus Vc is equal to 0. And if you cube the whole, you will get the equation 2. Then this is the equation that we obtained from the van der Waals equation of state, right? So when you compare the two equations, in that case, you can obtain the value of critical volume like this. You are solving it continuously, and after solving all these equations together, now at this point we get the volume of the value of critical volume Vc. This is equal to 3b. Value of critical pressure, this is equal to A upon 27b square. And when you put the two values into the van der Waals equation of state, again we are getting the value of temperature, critical temperature, which is equal to 8A upon 27 Rb. So in this manner, we can derive the value of critical constants. Now let us see the critical compressibility factor. So at the critical state, the compressibility factor Z is called the critical compressibility factor. So the pressure, we have taken the critical pressure, critical volume, critical temperature, and when you take the ratio of these values, you get the critical compressibility factor. So when you put all these constant values, because all are now constant, right? R is constant, critical values are constant. So when you put all these constants, now you get the critical value of the compressibility factor. So by calculating the critical compressibility factor for any gas and by seeing whether it is equal to 0.375 or not, it can be tested whether the above gas behaves as van der Waals gas or not. So for a gas to behave like a van der Waals gas, this value of critical compressibility, it should come to 0.375. Now similarly, the relationship between the TB and TC can be obtained. So TB is the boiling point, right, and TC is the critical temperature. So you can modify this equation like this. You can substitute the value of TB from here, and therefore TB will be equal to 3.375 TC. This is the relationship between these two temperatures. And then the liquefaction of gas, that can be achieved by the application of Joule-Thomson effect. So two processes can be applied here, but let us see what is the Joule-Thomson effect. So it says that when a gas is under high pressure and is allowed to expand under adiabatic condition. Adiabatic conditions are when it is not exchanging matter or energy with the surroundings. So adiabatic conditions through a porous plug into a region of low pressure. There occurs a change in the temperature. So when a gas under high pressure, it expands, the temperature falls down, and this is the Joule-Thomson effect. Now the difference in the temperature observed, it is proportional to the pressure difference maintained, and the temperature is called the inversion temperature. So a gas gets cooled by the Joule-Thomson adiabatic expansion only when the temperature is below a certain characteristic temperature. So you call it an inversion temperature, and this inversion temperature is Ti is equal to 2A upon Rb. We have two processes. First is the Linde process, which works on the Joule-Thomson effect. So here the pure gas is compressed to about 200 atmosphere, and then it is passed through a water-cooled pipe. And in this manner, the heat of the compression is removed. So what happens? Now it is passed through the spiral pipe, and at the end it has a jet. So when the gas passes through the jet, it expands suddenly into a region of high volume. So So the pressure suddenly falls down due to the high volume of the outside container. And what happens? During this process, the gas cool down and thereby externally cooling the incoming compressed gas. So the gas also cools down and cools out the coming air outside. Now it is returned to the compression pump. So this repetition of the cycle, it liquefy the gas continuously. This is the Linde's method for the liquefaction of air. The second is the Claudius process. Claudius process is for the liquefaction of a gas. The required low temperature is produced by allowing the gas to perform the mechanical work. And second is to expand the adiabatically through narrow jet into region of low pressure below the inversion temperature. So again, the application of Joule-Thomson effect can be seen here. In both the cases, the cooling occurs because some work is done by the gas in overcoming the intermolecular attraction at the cost of kinetic energy of the molecule. So as a result of this, temperature falls down and the gas becomes liquid. So these are the references for today's lecture, and that is all from my side for today.
Mom,
Thank you so much.
mom.